What's up, Taiwan? I'm Sandy Chi with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Lawmakers have passed a special budget to help Taiwan weather expected U.S. tariffs. But while all parties agree on the need to act, there's a strong divide over whether this budget does what it should. John Van Triest reports.
赞成者多数，第3条，照国民党党团再修正动议条文通过。
It's taken a few months to get here, but Taiwan now has a final plan to weather U.S. tariffs. The legislature, with Speaker Han Kuo-yu presiding, has passed a special budget with a ceiling of $18.6 billion to keep the country ticking. But while all three major parties back the idea of tariff relief, each had its own vision, and not everyone got what they wanted. Premier Zhou Rongtai is one of the disappointed ones. Despite pleas, this budget did not include a key plank his ruling Democratic Progressive Party envisioned, around $3 billion to prop up Taiwan's loss-making state power company. Instead, the budget includes an item his party had fought to block, a cash handout of around $340 for everyone in the country. The DPP worries this will raise debt and cause inflation. And the party views the budget that did pass, the opposition Kuomintang version, with cynical suspicion. In their view, this is an attempt to buy off voters just weeks ahead of a sweeping recall vote that could decimate the Kuomintang caucus and see the majority in the legislature change hands.
用发钱来救罢免，而且是用借钱来救罢免，这样子的侵害财政纪律，这样的破坏宪法的原则。
But the two opposition parties are content, even if they had different ideas about just how much cash to give out per person. The smaller Taiwan People's Party feels this budget's about doing right by taxpayers.
在去年2024年，超征的金额高达了5283亿。台湾民众党立法院党团，事实上在高关税的这个政策出来以前，我们就力主必须要还财于民。
But there is still a chance for some compromise, at least where funding the state power company is concerned. The Kuomintang says it wants to deal with that issue separately.
我们要求必须左荣泰院长到立法院来，针对台电拨补是否能够不涨电价，以及国家的能源政策是不是要做一个全面的检讨，之后才能用纳税人的血汗钱来决定该如何使用。
With the budget passed, now all sides will be waiting to see just how big a U.S. tariff Taiwan may face, and whether this $18 billion will be enough to keep Taiwan's businesses and public afloat. Andy Xue and John Van Triest for TaiwanPlus.
U.S. President Donald Trump has been announcing new reciprocal tariff rates for more countries this week. Given Taiwan's unique geopolitical position, we take a closer look at what this means for the country's economy and how local businesses can navigate these shifting trade winds. Our reporter Ai Chi spoke to Darson Cho, Director General of the Confederation of Asia-Pacific Chambers of Commerce and Industry.
Japan and South Korea are now facing largely unchanged 25% tariffs from the original April announcement. How should Taiwan view this given how similar the economies are, and what are Taiwan's strengths compared to them?
那我们可以知道，就是说日本的首相跟韩国总统最近对川普的态度都是非常强硬的啊。那另外最近还有一个态度很强硬的国家就是巴西，结果巴西呢得到了这个50% 的关税。那因此我觉得说台湾的情况，虽然说经济情势这个整个结构跟日韩相近但是不必然会得到这么高的关税了而且在这个4月2号之后我们的团队一直在释出善意包括去美国投资采购美国天然气等等。台湾最主要的优势就是说现在是我们知道川普的这个关税措施那最主要是希望美国的再工业化那也就是说希望其他国家去他那里投资。但是台湾呢是全世界唯一的国家呢能够把这个半导体的高阶制程4奈米到美国投资的这样的一个国家。
What kind of challenges does Taiwan face from the tariffs, and what ripple effects might these have globally?
我们知道就是说很多的产品其实它的替代性还是很高那美国的这个进口商呢一定会要求这些供应链的厂商分担这个关税，那就会压缩到这些企业的毛利。那此外的话，如果说另外一个情境就是 日韩呢，接下来谈到一个比较好的关税，那但是呢，台湾反而是得到一个就是说没有那么有利的一个关税税率的话，那我们相关的产品呢的这个市场价格的竞争优势呢也会因此丧失。好，为什么？因为日韩基本上是台湾在比如说像一些传产工具机啊、机械啊主要的竞争对手。
How can Taiwan's government enterprises take a more proactive role in global trade moving forward?
台湾呢，必须要不断的提升在高科技甚至传产也是一样，提升在供应链的位阶那这个方法提升位阶的话，就是说让这个产品的这个替代效果降低啦在市场上的对我们特定的产品的需求会持续的增强那这个政府可以做什么呢？就是说让台湾呢拥有一个很好的一个研发的环境那另外的话，对特定的产业呢予以奖励就这部分的话，政府可以鼓励企业不断的在这个供应链往上游移动我们讲说提升供应链位阶大概这样，就是说那个比较高阶的这个制程来保障这个产品持续为市场所需要。
That was Darson Cho, head of the Confederation of Asia-Pacific Chambers of Commerce and Industry. President Lai Ching-te has visited the southern city of Tainan again following the heavy impact of Typhoon Gazans. This marks Lai's second visit to the area in 4 days. He apologized to local residents who are still experiencing power outages. He said he will set up a special task force for people with homes that have collapsed or been damaged. U.S. President Donald Trump has traveled to central Texas, where deadly flash floods ripped through the area on July 4th. At least 120 people died in the disaster, and over 160 people remain missing. Trump thanked first responders and said his administration will work to ensure a similar disaster never happens again. The United Nations Human Rights Office says close to 800 people have been killed seeking aid in Gaza, where Israeli forces have repeatedly fired on Palestinians at food distribution points.
We've raised concerns about atrocity crimes having been committed and the risk of further atrocity crimes being committed. Where people are lining up for essential supplies, such as food and medicine, and where they are being attacked, where, again, as my colleagues have said, they have a choice between being shot or being fed. This is unacceptable, and it's continuing.
The UN office says most of the killings happened near aid points set up by the US and Israel-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which bypasses a UN-led aid system. The foundation disputes the accusation that killings happened near its sites. But the UN says the US and Israeli plan is, quote, inherently unsafe and violates rules of humanitarian impartiality. A preliminary report says a fuel supply cut caused the deadly Air Indian crash last month that killed 260 people in the city of Ahmedabad. India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau says the engines of the Boeing 787 Dreamliner were deprived of fuel after control switches in the cockpit were turned off. Air India acknowledged the report and said it was cooperating with Indian authorities. In Indonesia, the Honggana Manyawa indigenous people live according to their ancestral customs, largely independent from modern development. But their way of life is being increasingly threatened by the encroachment of the world's largest nickel mine. Miriam Brunner tells us more.
Deep in the rainforests of northern Indonesia, the last of the country's nomadic hunter-gatherers are fighting for survival. Uncontacted for centuries, the Honggana Manyawa have had to fend off trespassers and face forced relocation, as the world's largest nickel mine encroaches on their land.
After the companies entered this area, my relatives had to move. A lot of my relatives in this forest are now very far to reach, thanks to the mining companies. They keep clearing the forests, while this is our land, our birthplace.
Over 500,000 tons of nickel come from here, nearly 20% of global supply. It's used for wind and solar power and in electric vehicles and stainless steel. But as demand for green energy rises, so does the cost for the Honggana Manyawa people. There are only 3,500 of them left, and their daily lives are heavily dependent on the dwindling forest.
Turning the area into a concession zone or using it for mining to boost the economy hasn't really solved any problems so far. Instead, it's created new problems. Now, what will happen to the Hongana Manyawa people? If the government keeps using their economic arguments to justify their marginalization, then it amounts to a human rights violation.
Ancestral land is protected under the Indonesian constitution, but critics say the law is not always enforced. And with the Hongana Manyawa unseen for so long, they have no defined legal status, leaving them vulnerable to mining concessions like this one, jointly managed by French and Chinese companies who say their operations here are not breaking any laws. The destruction of the land is not the only challenge facing the Hongana Manyawa.
This river, as you see, was in the past a source of life for the Hongana Manyawa people, but now it's dirty. Hongana Manyawa people are in misery.
Despite the misery, they say that they have no plans to give up their land and traditions, that see them born in the river and buried within the sacred trees of the forest.
Let me reiterate, this is our land, our home. We will not consent to its destruction. So I'm telling them this is our home and we will not give it to you.
For now, the Hongana Manyawa do what they can, with or without the country's legal protections. In the face of big business and capitalist interest, they're determined to uphold their traditional role as the land's protectors, honoring the sanctity of the place they call home. Devin Tai and Miriam Brunner for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's top gymnasts are gearing up for the 2025 World University Games in Germany this month. I went to meet up with the athletes in training.
Showcasing balance, strength, flexibility, and endurance. Taiwan's top artistic gymnasts are gearing up for the World University Games, the biggest multi-sport event for university students, formerly known as the Universiade. The Games get underway on July 16 and will be held in several cities in Germany. This year, a total of 10 gymnasts, 5 men and 5 women, are representing the country in artistic gymnastics under the name Chinese Taipei.
因为这次男子队的组成是比较新的，就是一些比较新的选手，所以我们就是注重在他的临场表现，所以做一个模拟的比赛测验，让他比较能稳定。那女子方面，各自的训练上状态都还可以。
One member of the team is 21-year-old Tonya Poulsen, born in Sweden and known locally by her Chinese name, Chen Ruian. She just officially joined Taiwan's national team earlier this year, having previously competed for the country of her birth.
I've competed for the Swedish national team since I was 12 years old, so for a very long time, and we've had some problems in the federation, and also my mom is from Taiwan. She's 100% Taiwanese, so I would just feel very proud to represent her country and my heritage.
The addition of Poulsen is seen as a valuable asset for the team, helping younger athletes to grow and learn from her experience, especially Liao Yichun, who just graduated from senior high school and is competing in the World University Games for the first time.
他在练习比赛方面，就是他的爆发力非常的强，然后动作的难度也非常高。就是有一些是我也正在练习的动作，但是跟他做起来是像是2个动作一样，差很多。对，就希望可以再多去跟他学习。
Now, with fresh faces on Taiwan's artistic gymnastics team, the country hopes to bag its first women's artistic gymnastics medal at the World University Games, when this year's edition kicks off in Germany in the coming week. Chrisma Ansanichi for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, remember Mu Deng, the baby hippo that captured the world's heart last year. He's now 1 year old. Let's take a look at how he's doing. I'm Sanichi. Take care and see you next time.